All right, it's time to talk about the actual berimbolo battle, right? There's a couple different leg positions that people tend to refer to colloquially as berimbolo. This specifically is the one that actually is. So outside, kind of hooked down, leave a position. I rotate myself into this position. My right knee is now in front of Rory's hip. As we talked about before, I need a strong lever mechanism. So because right now both of my legs are kind of coiled and Rory's leg is starting to straighten, you can see his knee is starting to go back this way. It's starting to go behind my hip. It's not quite behind my hip yet. As I manage to get him over that way,
just lift up.
there we go. His knee is now behind my hip. My knee is in front of his hip. I have access to the back. Let's talk a little bit now about how this battle will occur within that position. So I get myself to here. Right now, I'm sort of winning that battle because this leg is straight-ish and I've got a fairly powerful lever mechanism here. Let's switch it so that Rory's doing that to me. So there, you can kind of see what's happening here. Rory's knee is in front of my hip. If I manage to shift Rory's knee a little bit, and I can do that by pushing on his ankle and pushing on his knee. I can do that by framing his hip with my hand to keep his knee from maintaining tension against my hip, and then redirecting his knee. Not the time for this discussion, but the idea of when a frame has good tension, it's really difficult to move it. We want to turn frames into levers. If I can disconnect that tension, I can start to turn that frame into a lever. I pass my knee behind Rory's knee. Now you can see my knees are in front of Rory's hips. Rory's knee is behind my hips. I have now won the position. Let's go through that one more time. There you go. I simply create enough of a disconnection. Right now, he still has potentially some control of my leg. If this leg were to straighten, he could still potentially control me. We'll talk about the scissor wedge later on. I managed to control this lever. I pass his knee behind my hip and I reinforce it. His knee is now definitely behind my hip. My knees are in front of his hip. I control the levers to Rory's hips. I can expose his back. He goes to push against me. He exposes his back. So if I can gain or maintain the position of my knee or knees in front of his hips, his knees behind my hips, I've won that battle from the berimbolo.
And that's like, that was focusing on like, how do we go from a back-to-back battle where it's like, we're both looking for back takes and how to counter it.
Yes.
If you're like, man, I hate this berimbolo shit, I want to get the fuck away from this guy. Even something as simple as when Rob goes here and looks to invert underneath, Rob wants to get my knee pushing back behind my hips, so I need to make sure that I'm keeping it heavy and extended out here, and this is why I keep my hips turned out this way like a technical stand-up, so it's hard for Rob to control here. Rob wants his knee in front of my hip here. If I'm able to control this and start pushing this away, I might be able to, especially against people that are not skilled. I know there's going to be some like Levi Jones and Leary guy that's watching this and be like, well, no, I still fucked it up. Yeah, there's a really deep, intricate game to this.
Absolutely.
But at just a beginner level of understanding that concept, you'll learn how to extract yourself out of this position. Or
beginner to intermediate level. This game, like you said, people who are experts at it will have little like mapped out pathways that they can resort to compensate for a lot of your responses. But if you just got somebody who just does berimbolos or does some of these kind of like rolling style back takes, understanding this relative knee hip position will allow you to, again, without knowing all the ins and outs of the position, just focus on those two cues and have some battles or exchanges in there to develop your sensitivity. And like Rory said, you don't have to beat them to the back. You can just extract, you can just keep your leg positioning so solid that if they can't put your knee into the position they need, they won't be able to take you back.